What's going on? You're killing us.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to Talking About Stuff with Jon and Schuff. I'm Jonathan Hymen.
I'm Michael Schuff.
And we are here to talk about
stuff.
That's exactly
Hey, Jonathan.
Right. Hey, Michael, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. And you?
I'm doing very well. Can you tell everyone where on this planet Earth you are?
Thank you for asking. Los Angeles, California. And it is 57 degrees tonight.
Wow, that's pretty cold for Los Angeles, California.
Yeah. How about you, Jonathan?
I'm in Chicago, Illinois, and I honestly don't know what the temperature is, but it's probably around there, maybe a little bit less. We are coming at you from two different states. Michael and I have been friends forever, and we started this podcast just because it was a global pandemic, and we wanted to do something with our lives.
We like to talk.
We like to talk, and we like to talk about stuff. Our producer, Ronnie Polidoro, multi-Emmy Award winner, is coming at us from New York. We thank him for being here. Ronnie is dealing with all sorts of technical stuff in the background. So we know that the video is a little bit jittery. The sync is off, but please, we're looking for sponsors. So anybody that feels like they want to get a Mac Pro,
and we thank him.
Send a Mac Pro to Ronnie Polidoro. It would help us so much.
Send one really soon, please. Send one. Thank you.
Please. Thank you so much. So for those of you that are new and just joining us for the first time, we do this show in 3 segments. Segment 1 tonight, we'll be talking about superheroes, streaming superheroes. There's some interesting things that have come up. Segment 2, we're very excited about. We have Mike Roth, who is a big-time animation producer. I worked with him when I worked at Cartoon Network. For those of you that don't know, I work in the animation industry. Love him. Michael and I have become close friends with him. We love him. We're so excited.
We love his family.
We love his family. We love everything Roth. We love. And what's really funny is if you're a fan of The Godfathers Part 2, one of the main characters is Hymen Roth. So together, Mike and I are Hymen Roth. I mean, isn't that exciting?
That's fun. Yeah, I think about Tim Roth.
Oh, well, that's another great actor. So I'm very excited about that. So we were on hiatus last week. A lot has happened since we had our last show. And I want to talk, Michael, right off the bat about Sumo Citrus. Now, yes, everybody knows that's in the audience. We talk about Sumo Citrus every single week. It's Michael's favorite. I can't. It's Michael's favorite. So in the last week, Sumo Citrus.
In the last 3 months, 3.5 months.
Well, of course, but I'm just saying in the last week, Sumo Citrus has reached out to Michael. They have officially made you a super fan. They've posted you on their website and they've sent you some special stuff. Can you talk about what has been happening with Sumo Citrus, please?
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I appreciate the spotlight here. So Sumo Citrus is an amazing company. It's been around for years now. They only have their oranges in season January through April. They've seen all of my commentary that I've done on my Instagram, video content, sharing my love with my friends and family. They sent me a tote bag.
Beautiful tote bag. I love
2 of them, actually. Would you look at this?
They sent you 2.
Okay. Yeah. And they sent me a beanie.
Oh, look at this beanie. Sumo Citrus beanie. Now, how many of those did they send you?
2 of them.
And why didn't I get one?
It's always about you.
No, it's about us. That's the point. I wanted one. They sent you 2. It should have come to me. Come on, man. Give me the swag. You're the one that gets it for free.
I know. It was my mom who originally told me about it. So if anything, I should be sharing with her, but we'll talk about it.
That's fair.
But they made me a super fan. I'm featured on their website. And I am over the moon. I could not be happier. And I am not getting scurvy because I've got a lot of vitamin C in my body.
That's for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
How many of those would you say you eat a day? At least one?
Not a day. No, I would say I eat 5 a week.
5 a week. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. That is very
Jonathan, you recently made a pretty delicious chicken dish with a sumo citrus glaze. Did you not?
I did.
Recently.
I had an extra sumo citrus laying around and it was starting to go bad. And I just decided, you know what, maybe I can make a nice glaze. So I put the sumo citrus in a blender with some butter, a few extra little things, a shake, and I marinated the chicken in it for a few hours, put it in the oven. It was delish. Sumo citrus glazed chicken. I strongly recommend figuring out how to do that.
Yeah, market it.
Incredible. Maybe I could be a sumo citrus super fan one day. You know, I aspire to be as special as Michael Schuff, who is a true sumo citrus super fan.
Thank you. And check maybe I'll surprise you in the mail with that beanie and tote bag. We'll see.
Oh yeah, well that would be fabulous. But check him out on the Sumo Citrus website. If you log on, just Google Sumo Citrus, you'll see that Michael is featured on their website. It has been very, very exciting. Now, speaking of exciting things and random weird connections with companies, Takea water bottles. Okay.
Yes, sir.
They are a fabulous water bottle company that I know you have some of their product. Tell me what's going on with Takea water bottles.
That's correct. So my uncle Jordan and my aunt Karen, they both work for Takea, specifically my uncle Jordan, and they do amazing products. They make amazing water bottles. I have one right here. This is called their Traveler. This is their particular spelling of the name. Okay. They're a Japanese company and they have offices here in Southern California. And they're creating a new water bottle, and it's a pickleball water bottle. They're sending me 4 different colors, and they're all themed around pickleball.
For those of you that don't know, some of Michael's favorite things are sumo citrus and pickleball. Pickleball is his life.
And drinking water.
Right. So the fact that they would be making a pickleball water bottle and sending it to you to test out, this has been an unbelievable week. I mean, I'm glad we took a hiatus so that you could breathe through all this very exciting.
I can't believe it. If you have any questions about any of this, we would love for you to ask in the chat window.
Yes. Right? So please, so as we go through our additional segments of the show, feel free to ask questions. We will, our third segment of the show, we will answer any questions if you have them for Michael, on any of the topics that we've discussed. Mike Roth, when we bring him in, he will be staying on for the Q&A segment. So please feel free to ask him questions as well.
We love questions and answers.
We love questions and answers. And you know what? We just love each other. So it's a love fest over
There's
here.
a lot of love.
There's a lot of love. There's a lot of love here. Well, we're really excited to talk about our first topic tonight, which is called talking about streaming superheroes. Now, within the last week, for any of you that have been paying attention to what's going on in streaming, a couple of major superhero related releases have come out. The first one that we're going to talk about tonight is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This was released on Disney Plus last Friday. It's their second Marvel MCU series. Obviously, the first one was WandaVision. Falcon and the Winter Soldier being their second. And right off the bat, before we get into any specifics or the backstory or how we get there, Michael, tell me what you thought about Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Well, I like to call it FAT WS. That's Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Okay, is my funny little abbreviation. And it's 92% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 78% audience score, which is really exciting. I agree with that. I love it because if you like skydiving and explosions, hopefully not at the same time, you're going to love this series. It's really fabulous. Well, and it is high octane, and I loved it. I absolutely am very excited about it. And we are going to be probably having spoilers here, right? So we might talk
spoiler alert here. We are putting on the spoiler alert. Yep. And if, for those of you that were in our first test show, we talked about WandaVision a lot, so we're not going to get too much into it. But one of the things that we consistently said was that the beginning 4 episodes it was a little bit of a slow burn, right? It started off with kind of slow pacing, and we weren't sure how we felt about it. But then towards the end of the series, it became absolutely incredible and definitely something that, or at least I recommend. Michael's, you're a little bit on the fence of the continued recommendation we were kind of talking about earlier.
Sure. Yeah. You know, I'm happy with both shows, to be honest, but it's definitely the slow burn. It was a little bit of a snooze fest. If I wanted that, I'd watch, the 1951 I Love Lucy series. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, so WandaVision ended up being a fabulous show, but again, started off slow. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the opposite.
It starts out, the pacing is fabulous.
Absolute incredible pacing. We're talking about unbelievable stunt work. Like Michael said, jumping out of airplanes, skydiving, explosions, all sorts of stuff. Absolutely unbelievable. And what's so amazing is that Disney Plus is doing these shows within the Marvel Cinematic Universe at MCU level budgets. I mean, this is not what you expect out of a television show. This is what you expect to see out of one of their major movies. Both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are two of the most expensive shows ever made. They are almost double the budget of the final season of Game of Thrones, which at that point had been the most expensive show ever made. So, I mean, we're talking about cinema quality stuff right at home on Disney Plus. Absolutely incredible. I can't recommend it enough. Michael, do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. It's absolutely fabulous. And Bucky Barnes is going on dates in this first episode, which is really fun.
Bucky Barnes, of course, is the Winter Soldier.
I like to call him James.
James works too. For a quick little backstory, I won't go total geek on everyone. We meet. I'm just going to stay within the context of the MCU and not get crazy into the comic books. But we meet the Winter Soldier in Captain America: Winter Soldier. We also meet Falcon in that movie as well. Bucky Barnes, who was Captain America's best friend in the 1940s, he ends up getting frozen, much like Captain America did, and being frozen literally, but in time, and ultimately is thawed out. Some really bad people turn him into an assassin. They brainwash him heavily and control him and have him do some pretty terrible things. So we see him in Captain America and the Winter Soldier as the villain. However, what happens throughout the MCU is that we see that Captain America is able to get him to remember who he was, that they were best friends, a good person. And ultimately, as we open on this new Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, we are seeing the Winter Soldier that we know and love, that has become a really good person. This takes place after Avengers Endgame. And we're kind of seeing him deal with the fact that in his life, he had done some pretty terrible things, and he's trying to work his way through that, which is really, really interesting. So the show is just phenomenal. I think that the performances have been incredible. Anthony Mackie, who plays Falcon, unbelievably strong performer. The stunt work is amazing. He does both of them do a lot of their own stunts. So I mean, what did you think? I mean, what do you think? It's
unreal. I mean, even with Bucky Barnes's disability with his arm, it reminds me of One Arm with Tennessee Williams, which I saw at Steppenwolf in Chicago.
Totally.
Which I think is a good segue for the other show as well that we're going to be talking about. But
that's very funny. It's true.
Yes. But I just delighted, and I'm so excited to see, and spoiler alert, that they are not in a scene together, Falcon and Winter Soldier, yet in episode 1, which is exciting because that's just building the anticipation.
Yeah, we know from the trailer that obviously they're going to team up and that's the way that the show is going to be. But ultimately, for right now, we are seeing them sort of how their lives are going to sort of connect and how they're going to get together and hopefully team up to do some pretty awesome stuff. But as Michael teased, he mentioned that he saw a play called One Arm. Bucky Barnes' character only has one arm and then has a mechanical arm. We won't get into all the craziness. But he saw the play One Arm at Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf is one of the main villains in Justice League, which is the second film that we are going to talk about tonight. Now, why are we talking about a film that came out in 2017? Well, it's because of this. Justice League, when it was released in 2017, was directed by Zack Snyder. However, halfway through the production of the film, he dealt with a very awful personal tragedy, something that took him away from the project. And ultimately, Warner Brothers wanted to finish the film. They had a release that audiences were expecting. And so what they did is they brought in Joss Whedon. Michael, tell them about Joss Whedon. I know you're a fan of a lot of his projects.
Huge fan. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He directed Avengers Infinity. Or no, I'm sorry. It was
the first Avengers
Ultron.
movie. He did the first Avengers movie and Age of Ultron, the first two Avengers.
And Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Love that.
In 2008 during the writer's strike.
That's right. He did a musical. It's fabulous. If you haven't seen Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, I can't recommend it enough. But anyways, they brought in Joss Whedon to take over. He had so much success with teaming up all of the Marvel characters in Avengers that they thought that maybe he could come in and do the same with the DC characters. Justice League, for those of you that don't know, is the team-up film that has Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, The Flash, Cyborg, and more in the comic series. But ultimately, he came in, he made a ton of changes. He dropped scenes, created new scenes, did different story things, and ultimately released a completely different film in 2017 than Zack Snyder had ever wanted to release. The film came out, it was just panned. Most people do not like the film at all. It's hard to watch. Michael, do you agree? It just wasn't a great film.
Yeah, it was too long. It's the same amount of time as Hamlet, 4 hours and 2 minutes.
Well, so we're talking about the Joss Whedon version right now that came out in 2017. So that movie was panned and it did not do well, and most people didn't like it. So I'm asking you about that film. What did you think of that film, the 2017 version?
Yeah, no, I disliked it.
Okay,
I wasn't a huge fan. I don't own it. Yeah,
I do.
I decided not to buy it.
The reason that I do is because I own every superhero movie. I just can't help myself. So I mean, look at this jacket. You know what I mean? It's part of who I am.
Yes.
But in any event, last week they released what's called the Zack Snyder's Justice League, and here's how we got there. So on Twitter, once the Justice League, the Joss Whedon version came out, and people absolutely just hated it. The fans started this Twitter uprising called Release the Snyder Cut, and it just became like a phenomenon. Millions of people begging Warner Brothers to release the film that Zack Snyder would have released had he had the time to step away with the personal tragedy that he had and come back and make the film that he wanted to. So it became such a big thing that Warner Brothers said, okay, Zack, we're going to let you cut together your version of the film. They gave him massive budget to reshoot a lot of the things that had not been shot in his original version. And all the actors were so passionate about Zack Snyder's version coming out that they all came back to do this during the pandemic, shoot these scenes to fulfill what Zack Snyder's thoughts and version was of the film. Now that was released last Friday. It's 4 hours, as Michael said, 4 hours and 2 minutes. It is extremely long. Michael, tell us what you thought of this version of the film.
Yeah, it was way too long, and most of the entire film is in slow motion. And so I'm just wondering, when is Zack Snyder going to maybe just go with a regular paced film? It's also a different aspect ratio and 4:3. But it was just way too long. I mean, even the football sequence was in slow motion with Ray Fisher's character. And typically when I'm watching football, that's the last thing that I want to see is that in slow motion. If I want to see slow motion with football, I'd probably play NFL Blitz, the video game, which Jonathan and I used to play.
We did. We used to play Slugfest.
Yeah,
also.
so I've got a lot of problems with it. There's also voice transformation that I'd like to talk about as well.
Yeah, well, just real quickly, I want to say that I agree that it is very long. It's not easy to sit through any 4 hour film.
And you were saying that it was supposed to be in like 2 parts.
It was originally.
I would have been fine with 6 parts.
Yeah, they said originally they came out and said that they were considering to release it as a mini series, which I think would have been a good idea. But ultimately, Zack Snyder wanted to release it as one cohesive film. So it is 4 hours long. Obviously, you can pause it and stop and start. They break up the individual parts, as you said, 6 individual parts. But he intended for people to sit and watch it. Look, it's long. It's not easy to get through. The film is not a great film by any means. It's nowhere near
worlds better than the 2017 version.
Exactly.
Though I think we both agree on.
Yes. It is such a better film in so many ways. If you are a fan of superheroes or of the DCU movies, I do recommend watching it just to see how different a film can be with different editing, a little bit of different direction. You've got a beautiful, what is that, a Batman Pez dispenser right
Yes,
there.
it is. It
Love
reminds me of Ben Affleck's version of Batman. And then here I have a little Lego Superman.
Oh, I love that. Those are fun things to have around the house.
Representing DC, the DCCU.
That's exactly right. Well, listen, one of the things that we both agree was a little bit odd in the film were some of the vocal transformations. Tell us, Michael, about the two actors that we're going to talk about as far as their vocal transformation.
So Ben Affleck, he does this, and Alfred even does kind of an example of this, where he puts a contraption on his throat, and it makes his voice very deep. And so this was inconsistent for me throughout the movie. And I thought that it was just really strange and awkward to hear that kind of artificial transformation. It was very dark and deep. I understand that from Batman, but I didn't love it. And it wasn't consistent. The tone changed throughout most of the cut, and it was really strange and distracting. And then also Amber Heard's character was British, which I thought was super bizarre.
Yeah,
because in Aquaman, she's just speaking in her regular American dialect.
Just to be clear, Amber
that was strange too.
Right, Amber Heard plays Mira, who is ultimately Aquaman's love interest. We always have to remember that, again, Justice League was intended to come out in 2017, and the movie Aquaman came out after. So we're kind of seeing it in a weird order of operations, because now we're getting this new release of a film that's actually supposed to take place before this other one. However, it's really bizarre. She has a completely different accent in the Aquaman movie than she did in this new version of Justice League, and it was bizarre to watch. Well,
very.
Look, at the end of the day, I do recommend, like I said, to the fans to give it a try. It was worth watching. Again, it's still not a great film, but it is leaps and bounds better than the original. There's no question about it. Now, talking about making films, we are so excited to head into our second segment tonight. We have a very, very special person, as I said earlier in the show, Mike Roth, who is an animation producer. He's worked on some of the greatest projects that we've all seen and loved. We're talking about Rugrats, SpongeBob, Regular Show, and many, 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 many more. We have him here with us tonight. He's a dear friend of mine and of Michael's as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mike Roth. Mike Roth, welcome to the show.
Hi. Hey, guys.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, and congrats on this amazing show.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You are so talented and so fun to watch.
Oh, thank you.
Glad you guys are doing that.
Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. That's high praise coming from you, and we really, 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 really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
So, for those of you that don't know, I work in the animation industry, and one of the first jobs that I had in animation was at Cartoon Network, and I worked in what was called the shorts department, which was the development department of Cartoon Network, where we made all the pilots. Mike was the executive producer of that department, and that's how he and I met. I was his coordinator, and after a long time of working together, he and I bonded over our shared Judaism, over all sorts of things. We became incredibly close. He's now one of my closest friends. He's one of my mentors. Everything I know about animation, I learned from him. So excited to have him here tonight. We want to take you through Mike's career and how he's achieved what he's achieved and how he's had so much success. So, Mike, we want to start it off at the beginning. You went to SVA for art school, and you did amazing work there, met some great people, and it was because of your time at SVA that you landed your first major project. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so graduating SVA, I got a job at this studio called Doghouse Animation in New York City, and I was really pumped to start there because the guy who ran it was a classically trained animator from Don Bluth, and I said, oh, this is going to be a great job. I'm going to learn so much. And about 2 weeks into the job, he called me into his office, and he said, Mike, I got good news and bad news. And I'm like, all right, what's the bad news? The bad news is we're closing the studio. I'm like, great. And what's the good news? The good news is I'm going to go be a sequence director on Rugrats in Paris, and I'd like you to come with me and storyboard. I'm like, that's amazing. I'd love to. And
what year is this? I mean, Rugrats. I mean, I would have died. I mean, that was like one of my favorite shows as a kid. So back then, that's when Rugrats was probably.
Yeah, I love Tommy Pickles.
Yeah. 1999. So yeah, and I said, great, let's do it. And he said, great, I leave tomorrow and you'll leave on Saturday. Just like that. I packed up a suitcase and moved to LA. It was pretty wild.
And then you got to work on Rugrats. Like one of your first major jobs right out of school was one of the biggest, that was the movie, but one of the biggest shows happening in animation at that time. And then that actually leads you into SpongeBob, correct? You get into SpongeBob after Rugrats?
So yeah, Rugrats came to an end. And through a mutual friend from New York, Mike Matisse, he was a drawing teacher of mine, and he had a friend, Derek Dryman, who was the creative director in SpongeBob, and he contacted me and asked me if I wanted to do some freelance. At that time, I saw myself being like a feature animator, but I was like, I'll do some freelance, for a friend, whatever. So I got like the model sheets and everything for SpongeBob, and I'm like combing through. I'm like, this is like the most brilliant show ever. This thing is hilarious. I would love to work on this. And I turned in the freelance, and then they said, oh, surprise, surprise, that wasn't actually freelance. That was actually a test. And we'd like to hire you. So yeah, and then I went to SpongeBob. But here's a really interesting story about SpongeBob. Yeah. So I get on to SpongeBob. I have the job. And I'm sitting in my office, and the guy who I was reporting to came to my office and said, hey, Steve would like to meet with you. And I'm like, Steve, okay, I don't know who Steve is. So I go down the hall and I walk into an office and sit down with a guy named Steve. He starts asking me questions that sound very much like an interview. And I'm like, I thought I already have this job. But anyway, and then that was over, and went back to my office and I continued working. And then a few weeks later, we had a big screening, and that guy named Steve stood in front of the whole crew and said, we just got this footage back and we're really excited about it, blah, blah, blah. And he played it. And I'm looking at like Steve, and I'm looking at the credits, like Steven Hillenburg. Because at Klasky, you never meet Gabor, you never meet Aline. They're kind of removed.
Right, of course.
So anyway, I go back to my office and I said, my office mate, Carson, I said, that guy Steve, that's Steve Hillenburg, the creator? And he's like, yeah, you've been on the job for a month and you haven't done it.
Oh my God. You didn't realize that you were in a meeting with Steve Hillenburg, who is basically one of the biggest giants in this industry, the creator of SpongeBob. That is absolutely hysterical.
But here's the thing. That's how Steve was. Steve was just a very humble, unassuming guy, very down to earth, very much just an artist, like somebody who just wanted to make funny stuff. That was his main mission. And
he succeeded for sure.
I've had experiences like that meeting hockey players that I had no clue who I was speaking to. And they were a Chicago Blackhawk.
Where was that? At the Apple Store?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, sadly, just so everybody knows, Steve Hillenburg, who was the creator of SpongeBob, sadly passed away a couple of years ago. He was a giant in this industry, and would you consider him one of your mentors, Mike?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from Steve.
Steve's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
He gave me so much wonderful advice.
So after SpongeBob, you move into Cartoon Network, which is where we ultimately met. You worked on multiple projects, but one of the most exciting things, in my opinion, that you worked on is you were the supervising producer of Regular Show, which is one of the most successful shows ever at Cartoon Network. You won an Emmy for writing on that show, which was absolutely incredible, and I'm so happy for you. I think you have that Emmy in your office, although it'd probably be hard to pan the camera to it. But let me just remind our audience that on this call right now, we have 3 Emmys, 2 for Ronnie, 1 for Mike, and multiple nominations. In fact, Mike was nominated last year for a project that we worked on together. Go ahead, Michael.
And John and I for the turkey trot.
Right. We have medals.
We have medals for that.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
Well, here's my question for you, starting with a Regular Show. Okay.
Sure.
You guys did an amazing job with that show. It's hysterical. It's one of the funniest shows I think ever that was on Cartoon Network. But I'm looking at your office right now, which is filled with toys behind you, all sorts of action figures and stuff. I'm seeing that you have a massive amount of Star Wars toys, right? So here's the other thing that I know.
Incredible.
That Mark Hamill was one of the stars of Regular Show that I know as the supervising producer, you would have worked with directly on multiple hundreds of voice recording sessions. So here's my question. You have a massive collection of toys of him and you get to work with him. What is that like to be a fan, but also be a boss and be working with them? How does that work?
Yeah.
Well, you know me, John.
What a voice.
I don't get starstruck very easily, but Mark Hamill, I definitely was pretty starstruck. I was a bit nervous, but here's the thing with Mark, he's so easy to work with, and he's just so nice. And here's another fun fact about Mark Hamill. He's like a walking encyclopedia. I mean, that guy can talk about history. He knows dates, he knows names, he knows everything.
Smart dude.
It's pretty incredible. So very talented guy, and I feel really blessed.
He's a Jedi.
I worked with him for about, yeah, he is. He's a Jedi, totally.
In real life.
About 3 years in, I finally mustered up to courage to ask him to sign my original Luke Skywalker figure.
Get out of town.
Where did he sign it?
He signed it on the back.
He's got your back.
Oh, I can see it right at the top. Oh my God!
Incredible.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Was it awkward when you asked him to sign it, or how was he about that?
He just had a Sharpie on him, or did you hand him a pen?
It was just me being awkward, like, oh,
you were awkward about it. He was totally cool. I mean, I guess that happens to him all the time.
Yeah, he's like, oh, sure. And he like, what do you want it to say? Like, yeah, just write whatever.
He was ready to go with his Sharpie.
Yeah. I mean, he's a regular guy. He's a regular guy that worked on probably.
Well, it was a regular show, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I love
See what I did there?
I do.
So
Not
you were
a regular.
So you were a supervising producer on regular show. For how many years were you on that show?
Like 5 or 6.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you working on that show and working with JG.
It was
and
amazing.
MH.
Like, we basically, like, setting into it, we just wanted to make a funny show, and we wanted to be funny for ourselves. It was really fun. We had a lot of 80 references and a lot of things from our childhood that we built into it. We also got permission to make it PG instead of G. So we were able to kind of elevate the humor a little bit, get a little bit more humor in there that, it's for college kids and that type of thing, as well as for young kids.
Sure.
And, at the end of the day, I feel like we're really blessed because we got to make something that it wasn't just for the audience. It also was for us. Right. So we're making something for the audience, but we're also making something that we loved as well.
Yeah. Which is where the best stuff comes from, as far as I've seen.
Yeah. I think that's right.
So after regular show, sorry, Michael, please go
I
ahead.
have a personal question for Mike.
Yeah.
You've worked for so many amazing production companies. What has it been like to be involved with just these amazing, iconic companies that are some of the best in the world?
I think I'm still a geek at heart. So, I mean, I just started at Warner Brothers, and yeah, I kind of geeked out on that a bit. Like the WB, I grew up watching Chuck Jones and Bob Clampett and all those amazing things, and Warner Brothers with all the amazing IP with Batman and everything else. I still get a bit giddy, like, going into these studios. When I was working at Disney, it was amazing going to the original lot that Walt Disney built, and I knew where his office was, and I would get some lunch and just kind of go out of my way to stroll past where his office was. Just, I don't know, just because it's cool, You can almost feel, the one thing with the Disney lot is it's almost like, in the best way possible, haunted, right? But not scary haunted, but like haunted with all this amazing talent in history. Like, you can feel it when you walk through that lot. And it's very uplifting, like, just to walk through, like, if I'm having like a struggling day, just like walking out of my office and strolling through the lot, it's like, it puts you in a good mood. So I loved it. It was great.
That actually reminds me of when I first met you, is when I was visiting Jonathan at Cartoon Network, and he was one of the first people that I got introduced to. It was you, and you thought that I looked like someone that you had met before, and I was very flattered by that. It was real, and I'll never forget that.
Did we ever decide who that was that you thought Michael was? I don't know if we ever figured that out. I think you just maybe thought you've met him before.
Maybe in another life. I mean, you just felt so
possible.
familiar.
We're all soulmates, so that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
So just real quickly, I want to go back to Cartoon Network. After a regular show, you move into taking over the shorts department. You are the executive producer of the shorts department, which is, again, where Cartoon Network made all of their pilots. Correct me if I'm incorrect in this, but I believe this is your record. You, in your time at Cartoon Network, did somewhere between 18 and 22 pilots.
27.
27. Okay, that's more than I even realized. We did 18 together. 50% of the 18 that we did together, or that I touched in some way, some of them were right at the end when I started, 50% of them went to series. For those of you that don't know, that is an insane turnover rate. I mean, you're lucky in a pilot's program to do 5-10% turnover to series. Half of everything that Mike touched went to series, which is pretty unbelievable. Can you tell us about that experience and what that was like?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin. Like, first off, when they asked me to do it, I was really honored. I mean, to run a program like that, I was really interested too to see, you know, as an artist, like there's the artist camp and then there's the executive camp. You know what I mean? And they kind of live over here and we kind of live over here. And this job was kind of right in between. You know, it's like working with the artists, also working very closely with the executive. So I was really excited to kind of get involved in that level and see what happens over there in that world and learn from that as well. So it was a really awesome learning experience. I also, you know, I come from a family of teachers. So I think it's just kind of in my DNA to be a little bit of a teacher. And I really enjoyed having the opportunity to be a mentor for a lot of young talent, right? And it's like,
well, if I could just pause you real quickly.
Sure.
I have to be honest and tell you that you are one of my greatest mentors. And when Mike says that he takes his responsibility as a teacher and a mentor seriously, he isn't kidding. As a production coordinator, which is one of the first jobs that you get, you start out as a PA, then go into a coordinator. Your job really in that role for the most part is to take notes, be a fly on the wall, make sure that things are moving forward in a good way. Very quickly, Mike got to know me well. He learned about my background, knew that my degree was in theater performance, and he would do some unbelievable things with me, like invite me into the edit room and ask me my opinions on things, bring me into his office, show me a scene, ask me what I thought. Like, to be asked for creative notes is unheard of.
That's a dream.
It's an absolute dream. And Mike, I don't know what he saw in me. I appreciate it, but he trusted me. And that relationship grew and grew and grew. And ultimately, he had me involved right at his side in everything that we were doing together at Cartoon Network. And I just want to say thank you so much for that, Mike. Seriously, thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for being such a great member of the team. And, you know, you're really talented and you have a great eye for stuff and you have a background in it. So I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate all of your feedback and your input, and I really appreciate that time working together. You know,
I do too.
Like in that shorts department, we all, like with Nick Cross and Ravity, like we just all had we were a very tight group.
We were
a very special.
You were a beautiful camp.
Yeah, we were.
We were basically just 5 strong, you know, making all these shorts. And
five
like
of us.
Justice League. Yeah,
I was right. Exactly. Just like Justice League. We were the Justice League. We ultimately, just 5 of us put together, again, in my time with you. I know you said you did 27.
The Mike Roth cut.
The Mike Roth cut. What we did together was 18 pilots. Half of those went to series. I'm so proud of them. One of them last year was nominated for an Emmy. Sadly, we did not win. I would have done anything to win my first Emmy. I was so excited about it. But that was called Mushroom in the Forest of the World. All of the projects that we did were incredible. I can name them all, but you'd have to sit through me naming 18 titles. So please look at the shorts that came out during that timeline. But Mushroom in the Forest of the World is available on YouTube. You can see it. It's one of the projects that I'm most proud of having been a part of. Mike, what was a couple of your favorite shorts that you worked on, or is it hard to say because you were? It is
really hard to say. You know, the other thing I want to say too, like that made the shorts department so special, was all these young creators that we had. Really talented people who were coming in and had really fresh ideas, and you know, I learned a lot from them as well. You know, like they all had different ways of viewing the world and different ways of viewing how to do animation. So that was great. Favorite shorts, it's just so tough. You know, I said this once to somebody and they're like, oh, that sounds like a cop-out answer. It's not. Actually, what it is like whatever short I'm on in the moment, that's like my favorite one. Because I feel like you have to put so much of yourself and your own being into a project, like you almost kind of fuse with it in a way, you know. It becomes the most important and precious thing that you're doing, and you're fighting so hard to bring this thing to life and to make it breathe and to make it, you know, also to make it be like what the creators want it to be, you know, like they come in with a vision. And I feel like when you're in a department like that, the worst thing you could do is put your own personal stamp on it, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be a facilitator and you have to help channel it, but you also have to kind of get out of the way.
Yeah.
So lovely. Yeah.
And not
It's about trust.
It is. It's a lot about trust. It's a lot about trust. It was an amazing time, you know. I think, you know, at some point, you know, 4 years of doing it, I think sometimes I kind of miss being an artist, you know, because I was becoming more and more executive, you know. So anyway.
But maybe that's why you do maybe that's why you do the doodles. You know what I mean? The doodles are your time to sit and do a little bit of art, even though very important things are happening in front of you. But I learned very quickly that you're actually listening, even though you're drawing masterpieces at the same time. So we're gonna get into our third.
Even if it's a character of me.
We're gonna get it. Oh, yeah. By the way, if you haven't seen on Michael Schuff's Facebook, he posted it on his Instagram, all of his profiles. Is the lovely doodle that Mike did of Michael.
Amazing.
Amazing.
That was a big honor. Yeah.
He did one of me as well, actually wearing this jacket as a Flintstone when I started working on a Flintstones show. I gotta post it. Yeah, with the sleeves ripped off and everything. So moving on, I just want to say that after Cartoon Network, you went to Disney, did some amazing work there. You're currently at Warner Brothers in development. I know you're not allowed to tell us. You can't even tell me, a close friend of yours, what you're working on. But here's what I do know is that whatever it is that you're touching will turn to gold. So we're very excited.
100%.
Whatever it is you're doing at Warner Brothers, I can't wait to find out what it ends up being. And, you know, I wouldn't be upset if I became a part of it, Mike. So, you know,
like Peter Griffin.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even gonna do a Peter Griffin impression.
Okay.
So moving into our third and final segment, this is our Q&A time where we look after the questions that you've been posting, and please feel free to post more right now. But this is moderated by our producer Ronnie. So Ronnie,
thank you, Ronnie, in advance for this.
Do we have some questions?
Yeah.
What are?
Sure, yeah. So the first question goes to Mike. Mike, the question is, was SpongeBob always set to live in a pineapple under the sea, or are there any other fruits, perhaps a sumo citrus, involved?
Oh my gosh, you know, I think that's a
great
for Steve Hillenberg. But from my limited understanding, Steve was a marine biologist. That's how he started. I don't know if everybody knows that, which is pretty awesome. He was a scientist. And he also did like a children's program, and he also was an artist. So I know at one point SpongeBob was just a round sponge, and I have a Post-it pad here. We hardly use these anymore. He did a doodle of a face on a little Post-it pad like this. And Martin Olson, this is the story, at least this is how it was told to me. Martin Olson said, "There's your character." So he switched them to a square sponge.
I never knew that.
That is awesome.
That's all. It all happened with
new respect for Post-its.
Yeah,
totally. And as far as the pineapple goes, I mean, Steve, he just infused the whole world. He just saturated it with like Hawaiian themes and nautical themes, right? So probably was looking for something fun and festive for SpongeBob to live in, and pineapple is just a funny word. Right? It's such a beautiful word.
Something that we talk about in animation all the time is the difference between cartoon logic and human logic, right? So obviously in real logic, you don't live in a pineapple, but in Steve Hillenberg's SpongeBob world, he did whatever he wanted with it, and it was so fun and hysterical. So it's pretty exciting. Ronnie, what else do we got for?
That's awesome. Now I want Hawaiian bread.
This one comes in from Christina. Christina would like to know what your favorite childhood cartoons were.
As for each of us?
Yeah, each of you.
Mike, you go first.
Wow.
You want me to go first?
Yeah. What was your favorite childhood cartoon?
Oh my gosh, like all of them. I think probably my favorite stuff though was Sunday morning comics, right? I loved Garfield as a kid, and I really, really loved Calvin and Hobbes. I used to cut out the comics from Calvin and Hobbes. But, you know, as a kid, I mean, I loved He-Man, I loved Thundercats, I loved G.I. Joe, I loved the Looney Tunes cartoons, I loved the Disney cartoons. I loved cartoons. I think I like cartoons more than live action, and then that's why I'm here. How about you guys?
For me, I would say this is very easy for me, actually. Number one would be The Real Ghostbusters, which was like a religion to me. In fact, I think I have a on this jacket. Ghostbusters is like everything. So the real Ghostbusters would have been my favorite. Right close, super second would be Ninja Turtles, which I think is on this side. Yep, Ninja Turtles right there. And
amazing
pockets. But those were my two faves as a kid. But like you, Mike, I was obsessed with cartoons. In fact, watching cartoons at far too old of an age to be continuing to watch cartoons. In fact, you can still catch me watching cartoons on weeknights and weekends. Just, now I get to say, well, I work in this industry, and that's why
it's an amazing network.
Michael, what
probably Doug Funny.
Oh, you love Doug?
Yeah, I think I really related with him, and he was always banging on a trash can.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that whole era of Nickelodeon was amazing.
Amazing. I loved it.
That's
the most
Nick at Night and.
Yeah, it was one of the most brilliant cartoon blocks ever.
Absolutely.
It was so distinctive and different from what every other network was doing. And it was a special time. Yeah.
Totally. Ronnie, what else is our audience asking?
Well, just for the record, Christina would like everyone to know that her favorite was the Smurfs, obvi.
Oh, I love the Smurfs.
Nice.
Collection in his office. Huge.
I have a huge Smurf collection. Here's a Smurf right here. I got.
And,
I think
Mike, you were saying it earlier. What's your favorite color, Mike Roth?
Yeah, blue. There you go.
Yeah, blue.
Right.
I like that.
There you go.
Ronnie, what do we got?
Yeah, sure. Next question is for Michael. This one comes from Maya. Michael, you were talking a lot about slow motion, not really loving slow motion in Justice League.
Yeah.
What would you enjoy watching in slow motion?
Probably learning how to do yo-yo tricks in slow-mo was very helpful for me. And if you know me well, I like to do yo-yo tricks. And that was just a really fun practice, is to watch the tricks happen in slow motion. That was easy for me to comprehend and do my yo-yo tricks, I guess. So that's the first thing that comes to mind amongst other things. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, this one comes in from, I think I have the pronunciation correct, Elisa.
Elisa, yeah.
Yeah, this one, what's everyone up to for Passover? Passover's coming up.
Great question.
Oh, that's a very sweet question.
On this call, so we are all celebrating Passover.
Yes.
So this is actually pretty funny. Both Michael and I are going to be on Zoom celebrating Passover with Mike, but on separate nights. I'm going to be with my family on Saturday night, and then with my personal family live on Sunday. And then Michael, what are you going to be doing?
On Sunday, I'm going to join Mike and Colin. We're going to do a call with their temple, which I was invited to on Sunday. On Saturday, I was invited over to my friend Mark's house for a Passover dinner. And then, Mike, what are you doing both nights? Just with the fam?
Yeah, well, and you guys.
so
it'll be similar to last year.
I love it.
We set the whole table.
I know. Last year we were all together in person, which I wish we could do.
Put our iPads and phones up.
Like the true story of Passover now. Next time together in Jerusalem, or whatever it is that we say. Time together outside of this pandemic. Well, I got to tell you that. Speaking of Passover, it might be a good time to do a semi promo. Can I say this, Ronnie, what we're looking at doing next week, or is it too soon to say?
I mean, let's say it.
Okay, so we have a very, very special guest coming next week. I want Ronnie to actually explain who it is, but it is related to Passover. So Ronnie, tell us who is going to be our guest at next week's show.
Yeah, next week's show is going to be our dear friend and friend again from college, Molly Tolsky joins us. Molly is the managing editor of Hey Alma, which is a millennial brand for Jewish women.
Hey Alma, I want to make sure everybody hears
fabulous.
That. It's a fabulous. You got to look at them on IG. They got all sorts of stuff. It is a periodical specifically for Jewish people, but Jewish women. It's a Jewish feminist publication. There's some hilarious content on there, some very serious content. But she is the managing editor, and we are going to be meeting with her next week, talking about all sorts of stuff. She's full of chutzpah, and so are we. And we're going to be talking about some great Passover things, maybe some fun Passover recipes. Passover will still be going on next week, so we're excited about that.
I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about the Rugrats Passover as well.
Yeah, why not?
Oh,
why not? Don't
you have a cell? Don't you?
How about that?
Cell?
I used to have that, and I sold it.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
I'm so happy about that.
I know. I got an original animation cell from the Rugrats Passover episode when we worked together.
Best find ever.
Yeah, bummer. Sometimes I sell things. It's a real bummer.
Buy and sell.
What other questions?
Sure, more questions. This one's a little bit more of a technical question for Jon and Mike. Has working remotely helped or hindered production of animation?
That's a really good question.
Really
Mike,
good question.
Want to take it?
Start? Why don't you start, Jonathan?
Okay, so here's the deal. During the pandemic, I've been really lucky. I've been able to live near my family in Chicago because we are working completely remote. Here's the thing. Unlike live action, which literally requires everybody to be there and be in person and shoot a scene, we are a bunch of really talented artists and producers and production staff working together, but ultimately at our desks, getting things done, coming into meetings, showing the producers, directors, do we like this art? Do we not like this art? We're still able to do it. We're doing it over Zoom now instead of live in person. And yes, there's always that whole, walking up to someone's desk and just saying hi, or walking up and getting a quick look at what they're doing. As a production supervisor, I'm the art supervisor on a feature film that I'm working on right now. It's always better if I can grab the director real quick and say, hey, do you mind looking at this artist, what he's working on at his desk, just real quick so I can get your thoughts or opinions. Now it's a bit more formal. I got to make sure that we're in a director review and having specific meetings for everything, but we're working, we're getting things done.
Remote.
If you saw Soul, which won the Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature and is nominated for the Oscar, that was finished completely remotely. Shows are being made completely remotely as far as animation goes, and it's working. It's definitely possible. There are fabulous benefits to being in person, but it's really amazing how much we are getting done being remote. Mike, what's your experience been like?
I think I echo a lot of what you're saying. I think what we learned is we can do this remotely. Like, we've really tested the boundaries and the limits of production. And yeah, if there's an amazing artist in France up in the mountains, like, we can use that person. Totally. They don't have to be in the studio. But at the same time, animation is such a communal business, right? It's like, it's so collaborative. Everybody has input, everybody shares ideas, and that aspect of it I miss. So I do miss the studio system. I don't miss the commute, because that commute for me was insane. I had to drive an hour into work and an hour home. But I do miss, like, just going into the studio, and like you said, it's just a lot easier to just run past someone's desk quick and pop in and be like, hey, what do you think of this? Or, hey, I have a quick question, So that part of it, I kind of miss. But
we're doing this podcast remotely.
That's exactly right. We got 3 different states being represented on this call alone, which is very exciting.
Following in the amazing steps of animation and what they do.
Like, what a godsend.
Technology, man. It's like Jetsons, bringing it back to animation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You look like you've got another question for us. What's going on, my friend?
Well, actually, I was just going to show a little bit of animation right now. I can make the questions from the audience thing fade away. And not just animated. Whoa. Okay, last question.
Nice transition.
Yeah.
We love transitions here. Yeah, talking about stuff.
Especially lenses. The
Schneider lens. Schneider. I meant to make that joke earlier about Zack Schneider. He has quite the eye behind the lens.
Quickly, before you ask this last question, Ronnie, I gotta say something. I'm noticing, Michael, that you're wearing a sweatshirt that Ronnie and I bought for you for your birthday one year.
Yes.
Please show them what it is and tell them why we bought this. I don't know if enough people know about you, this special thing.
Here you go. So I should know the date, but when The Dark Knight was being filmed in Chicago, I was living there, and a friend of mine, Emily, was working for casting, and she saw that I was interested in being a background actor, and I met the height requirements, and she invited me to be on set that day. And you can see me in The Dark Knight. Yeah. I am literally camera right during the scene where the Batman with Joker paint on his face has a noose around his neck, slaps up against the IBM building that unfortunately is across the street from a hotel that I won't talk about. But he is then lowered down on the rope, and you can see me just reacting. And we all saw the film at the AMC. That's right, River East. And Jonathan, what was your experience when you saw it?
We went to the midnight screening. We were all so excited. I had no idea I knew that you were a background actor in it, but I had no idea whether we would see you or not. We didn't know what was going to be in the cut.
Mm-hmm.
And when you showed up on screen, I nearly shit myself. I literally scream out in the entire theater. I go, "Holy shit, it's Michael Schuff!" Everybody looked at me. I was a crazy person.
Yeah, exactly.
I was so excited to see him in a Batman movie. It was like the most unbelievable, but perfectly Schuff thing to somehow appear on screen in a Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale, Heath Ledger Batman movie. One of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Like,
it was amazing. So for my birthday, they bought me this sweatshirt, which I am so thankful for, and that's why I'm wearing it.
Exactly right. So Ronnie, what was that last question that you were going to ask?
Sure. Just for the record, I bought Michael that sweatshirt, and
yeah,
and you bought and you bought him the hat.
Oh, right.
That's what I thought, Ronnie. I credited you earlier today.
Forgot we were together.
Thank you, Ronnie.
I apologize.
Yeah, but the Schuff abides.
He bought you the sweatshirt. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, final question for the evening, which could be a tease to a future episode. What, for each of you, John, Mike, and Michael, what has been your favorite item that you have collected?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
That's a rough one.
That's a really fun.
I don't even know where to begin.
Wow.
Why don't you guys start?
Well,
look here.
I mean, I have a yo-yo collection, so I don't know if you know, but when I was 12 years old, I was hired at the Yo-Yo House, which was a shopping center kiosk at Northbrook Court, and I was hired at the age of 12, and that's not old enough to be paid with cash, so they paid me with yo-yos, and I was a yo-yo demonstrator there. I later on did a birthday party actually for Colin, Mike's son, which was awesome. And I have over 80 yo-yos. Most of them are at my parents' house in Highland Park, Illinois. But I do have about 5 or 6 of them here.
Yeah, well, we need to find
yo-yos.
Do a yo-yo demonstration live on the show, because for those of you that don't know, Michael is an incredible yo-yo artist. And actually, Mike had him do a yo-yo demonstration and teaching a bunch of kids at was it Colin's birthday party?
Yeah. That's what I was just saying.
It was such a highlight. The year before, we had Star Wars characters come, and that was a big deal.
Oh my God, that was probably better than what I did.
That was over the top. Everybody was doing bananas.
I was there outside. All the kids were super into it. It was really, really fun.
What are your favorite collections, guys?
Yeah, I was going to say, here's how I would answer the question. So really quickly, I'll make it quick. Kevin Eastman, who is the co-creator of the Ninja Turtles, him and Peter Laird created the Ninja Turtles. He is really into fan engagement, and he has a website where you can connect with him directly and purchase things from him. And at one point I purchased, he sells parts of his personal collection of Ninja Turtles toys, and I bought one from him. It comes in a special packaging that shows that it was in fact from his personal collection. And just on a random Post-it note, right in there with the shipment, he wrote "Cowabunga, Jonathan." And more important to me than that figure is this Post-it note that says "Cowabunga, Jonathan" from Kevin Eastman, the co-creator of Ninja Turtles, is literally one of the most important things that I have. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Please don't ever sell that.
I won't. Well, somebody named Jonathan, I guess, would have to buy it. But I'm not going to sell it. It is. I have it at home, and it'll be with me forever. Mike, what is yours? Let's have you close it up with your favorite thing in your collection.
Great. I mean, I have so many favorite things, but right now, I think I'm going to go with Animal.
Oh my!
It's the original.
That is awesome.
Eyes go up and down.
Oh wow!
What?
Original 1978.
It looks brand new.
Animal puppet, and I really, really wanted this as a kid, and for every reason, it never happened. So it's going to happen now when I'm in my 40s.
And I know
that's awesome.
Al,
I love that.
You hang on to stuff forever. You don't sell your stuff. Just so you know, that is an incredibly rare puppet, and it's worth a lot of money. I know about the Fisher Price puppets. I couldn't tell you, but I guess I'm passionate about that type of stuff, and I know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are way over.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, Mike Roth.
Thank you, Mike Roth. We are so happy to have had you.
Thank you, Ronnie Polidoro.
Yes, Ronnie Polidoro.
Thank you, Jonathan Hymen.
Thank you, Michael Schuff. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Talking About Stuff with Jon and Schuff. I'm Jonathan Hymen.
And I'm Michael Schuff.
and we wish you a wonderful Thursday evening. Thank you, everyone.
Have a happy Passover too.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Happy Passover.
Thank you.